The fear of being found out. This first part of the book will help you master the inner game of performance. You want to improve as a performer and speaker. You're committing to being authentic to your personal biography and style. Perhaps you've identified areas for improvement, such as nervousness, a lack of imagination, boring content, stiffness, predictability, lack of humor. Those issues are personal to you. Maybe you've identified childhood experiences that affected your self-image and self-esteem as a performer, such as the criticism of a parent or a sibling who was more of a natural performer and intimidated you. Perhaps you were an outsider in high school and internalized that sense of not belonging in the spotlight. Your supervisor or peers may have negatively critiqued a performance or presentation, and it has stuck with you for years. These stories are not uncommon. They're universal. They feed the anxiety about performing that is also universal. The biggest issue isn't nerves, that's normal. But these negative filters turn your perspective inward. When it comes to a high-stakes business performance, you might fear you'll be found out for not having what it takes, for being a fraud in a suit. Not fraud as in con man, but rather fraud as in people will find out you're not the confident, expert leader you're pretending to be. Isn't that why it's such a big relief when a potential performance is canceled or postponed? Phew. They won't find me out this time. I don't want you to get stuck in the rut of performing so you're not found out. And I don't think you do either. Steal the Show is about delivering big results for you and your career. It's not about getting approval or keeping your head down or doing just enough to stay in your job. You can't perform your way into universal job protection. Perform to win. Perform to achieve business goals by trusting your preparation and your true persona. Freeing your natural voice. There are important behaviors that open the way to freeing your voice and finding a sense of self-esteem and self-possession as a performer. These include finding out what it takes to discover your backstory and keeping your promises to your audience, whomever and wherever they may be. Letting go of the pernicious small thoughts that maintain the illusion that your voice shouldn't be heard. Escaping the perfection trap and embracing your role as a performer. Never again being trapped by your history or anyone else's. Embracing your audience with love. I admire the pioneering work of teacher, author, and psychotherapist Dr. Nathaniel Branden. His definition of self-esteem is one that I aspire to as an individual and suggest that my students consider as well. Self-esteem is the disposition to experience oneself as being competent to cope with the basic challenges of life and as being worthy of happiness. Thus, it consists of two components: 1. Self-efficacy, confidence in one's ability to think, learn, choose, and make appropriate decisions, and 2. Self-respect, confidence that love, friendship, achievement, success, and a word, happiness, are natural and appropriate. Knowing when your voice is already there. A big advantage of the performing techniques and strategies in this book, and of rehearsing them properly, is that you will strengthen these two types of confidence, self-efficacy and self-respect, and starve the inner nags of the oxygen they need. This has worked for many of my students, including Lori, a CPA who attended one of my events in 2013. Lori doesn't possess a big, charismatic performer's personality. Rather, she's a quiet, reserved number cruncher. Lori told me she was fearful of speaking in public and enrolled in the event because she needed to find her voice and have more confidence in meetings and at professional conferences. During the seminar, Lori found it hard to hold center stage with confidence or project her voice more than a few feet. I saw her hands shaking as she clutched her note cards. When I snuck up on her and took the cards away, Lori cursed me under her breath. I was both shocked and delighted by Lori's response. Most of all, however, I could hardly wait to see what she would do next. Without her cards to hide behind, Lori addressed her fears of public speaking and challenges with making herself heard for what might have been the first time. She shared that she'd been hiding most of her life. The one time she tried to speak up as a child, her mother slapped her across the face and said, "No one wants to hear from you." That one moment shut her up for over 40 years. In a seminar that included professional speakers, she was the only student who brought the room to tears with her speech. Lori overcame her fears by investing herself in a method that freed her from her past and allowed her to find her own voice in the present. The accomplished actress Jamie Lee Curtis found a whole new voice in writing and speaking about addiction and recovery. She claims her 15 years of sobriety as her greatest achievement. Her blog Good Morning Heartache, Good Morning Life on the Huffington Post is regularly shared and retweeted by thousands. Former actress and mental health expert Kathy Cronkite, Walter's daughter, went public with her struggles living with severe depression, leaving her career as an actress to become a popular, influential advocate for mental health treatment. Now she is a popular keynote speaker. You see, finding your voice isn't necessarily a matter of adding things. It's certainly not about becoming someone else. Maybe it's not a matter of finding it at all, but rather just the opposite. Maybe it's about stripping away the false personae and excesses since your voice is already there. It's about returning to who you were before you started believing other people's stories about you. It's you. It's your core. Don't talk yourself out of success. Don't let your voice be trapped by history. The past doesn't have to predict whether or not you will have success. So many people talk themselves out of their dreams because they've had letdowns in the past. That's a common pitfall. For example, Frederick Banting, who won the 1923 Nobel Prize in Medicine for his discovery of insulin's ability to control diabetes in humans, said in his later years that, if he had been more familiar with the literature and the long history of unsuccessful attempts to isolate the hormone, he might never have undertaken the research that was ultimately successful. I feel similarly about writing books. If I have too many other voices or points of view in my head, I start questioning myself or I write in response to what others are saying. Neither of these situations is how I'd like to spend my time. And I certainly don't want to censor myself and not write about a concept that is central to my methodology because someone else has already addressed it. Of course, I read and pay attention to the world around me. I don't lock myself in a dark room and avoid the world in order to find my voice. But when it comes time to create, I trust my voice. And you should too. The problem with fixating on other people's histories of failed expectations is that it makes you think small and play small. The notion that being realistic or practical means settling for less is a small idea that robs you of your voice. It is realistic and practical for you to do big things. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." For our work together, think of it like this: the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams and have the willingness to find their voice and confidently and proudly share it with others. Puncturing the perfection myth. Trusting your voice means that you rehearse and perform to achieve your goals, communicate a big idea, and get results. It doesn't mean you set out even subconsciously to prove you're better than other speakers or to make the audience like you. By making your goals unrealistic and unattainable, you'll start playing small and diminishing your voice and presence. When you are in the spotlight, yes, many people are looking to you for answers. But that doesn't mean you must have all the answers. You just need to be able to deliver on your promise. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room to present and deliver compelling content in a speech, effectively lead a brainstorming session, or even get chosen for a leadership position. Sometimes the way to increase your status in the eyes of others is to say, "I don't know." The one who thinks she always knows what's best is usually the last one to be asked for her opinion. As I mentioned earlier, what you say doesn't have to be different to make a difference. It's the way you say it that matters. Your particular voice connects with some people and not with others. For example, if you sit on a conference panel, you might be drawn into competition over whether you will speak first, last, or in the middle of a program. Yes, often the first one to voice her opinion can set the tone. There are times when finding your voice after you hear what others have to say, in a meeting, is the most powerful choice. It resonates the strongest and reverberates the loudest. So, sometimes, the first one to take the stage is the last one remembered. When your voice is the strongest, As you advance into my methodology, consider this: to be exposed when you are performing is where your true strength resides. When you think you have to protect yourself from getting hurt, from the power of others to adversely affect your life, all you have really done is repress your dreams. You have wasted your voice on self-protection, rather than amplifying it through self-understanding followed by self-expression. All that negativity makes you weak. Your voice is strong when it is founded on generosity and, dare I say it, love. In fact, I suggest trying to love every member of your audience even if they're thumbing their noses at you. When you're given the stage or any kind of platform, like the head of the table at Thanksgiving dinner, it's an honor. Call me corny, but that's the way I see it. Later in the book, I'll discuss how to get the audience to respect you even before you stand in front of them. That's when your voice is the strongest. Finding your voice and speaking up probably shouldn't be a rebellious act. It's empowerment, not revolt. It's not a response to something. It's not "I'm going to show them, just watch me." To rebel is an action fueled by scarcity. It's a small voice shouting. Finding and sharing your voice is about creating something new, not simply complaining or rebelling against something in the past. The exciting performer breaks the rules, not just to be rebellious, but to create something new, something that works better than what currently exists, and to delight, surprise, enthrall, move, and inspire. The act of tearing something down without rebuilding something better in its place traps us in the past rather than freeing us to experience the rewards of the future.